Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Hare Krishna. We're continuing our wonderful discussion about the nature of leaving the body, and it's been very edifying. And also we've been making it quite entertaining, and it's been a little funny, maybe very funny. So today we're going to answer a question that we didn't answer last week. Not last week, yesterday. That question was, what happens to a devotee if he gives up the practice of Krishna consciousness and he engages in sinful activity? What's his future? So we were spending a bit of time discussing the future of people who engage in devotional service, and yesterday we talked about the benefit for people who come in contact with prasadam. Actually, the last few days we talked about the benefit for people who come in contact with prasadam, come in contact with books, see the deities and so forth. And so then one devotee said, well, what about a devotee who's come in contact with these things, but then they give up Krishna consciousness and engage in sinful activity? So what's their position? And so I was looking for the verse, but I couldn't find the verse because I almost found it, but I didn't want to waste your time. I knew sort of where it was, and I was only about 5 verses away from it, but I thought, I'm not sure where it is. But last night we were reading Brihad Bhagavatamrita, and the verse came up. That's the verse. And so we have that verse. And Krishna Karshini and Yana, I just got the verses on my computer, and I'm going to send them to you right now. But I have to save them as a PDF, because if I save as a PDF, then all the diacritics will stay there. And so everyone gets to watch me do this. I was a little late taking care of other things this morning. So, I'm sorry about that. I was going to prepare earlier, but then I have another class after this at 9:30. We're doing in South Africa. They're having a retreat, and they invite different speakers. Then at 11:15, I'm doing Sunday feast in Columbus. And then I thought, when am I going to eat breakfast? So I eat breakfast before this class, which is why I'm a little late now, because otherwise I would have been ahead of schedule. So we were talking about excuses. We had a class in excuses yesterday. Well, that's a good excuse, right? I tried. Yana, don't you have an email with your name, Yana? That would be easier for me. You have another name there. Okay, it's going out in a second. Don't go anywhere. Sorry about this. I hate to waste your time, but what can we do? It'll be worth the wait, I think. Because then, at least, you'll have the quotes. So Yana and Krishna Karshini, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Yeah, sound is always interesting. Is that any better? Connections, better connections. Okay, let me know if that's any better. Krishna plays tricks with me because actually I have things set up. I'm using actually a very good microphone, so it should sound fantastic. And then we run into these kinds of problems. So I sent you the document just just upload the attached PDF, not what's in the email. And I have something, if we have time, I have something Prabhupada said about the mind, because we've been talking same noise. Okay? What about that? There's it's electronic circuits. Is that any better? Not okay again. What about this? I take the light out. How about that? Now it's better? Yes. Better. It's better when I take the battery out. Better. How about when I put the light back in? Okay, this is an experiment. Is it worse now? Because it could be an electrical. Perfect. Oh. Let me know if it's perfect in a few minutes. It seems. I'll tell you what to post when I'm ready. When I'm ready to read it. Okay. Everything's okay. I started using a different microphone a few days ago. If you actually listen to the recording on good headphones or speakers, you'll notice a big difference. Good light. Okay. Everything's good. Okay. Oh, I forgot to send it to Anuradha. I forgot all about you, Anuradha. How does that make you feel? Makes you feel like you're not worth it, right? Yes. Oops. Oops. No, I sent the wrong one. Hare Krishna, we're getting off to a slow start here. I'm sorry. It was not a good day. Okay. We're almost there. Okay, so let's chant a little bit, and then we'll begin reading. So as I was saying, then as we were reading Brihad Bhagavatamrita, we came to this position in Brihad Bhagavatamrita where it's describing the residence of Vaikuntha and what it's like in Vaikuntha. And I thought, this is a natural progression of this discussion, because we're talking about leaving the body, but we're not talking about what's happening after you leave the body. And so to get involved, I think I'll give you some previews, but I think to go more into the nature of the spiritual world would be extremely important and extremely interesting. There's some amazing things that I read last night that I'd never heard before about life in the spiritual world. And for a lot of us, when we talk about life in the spiritual world, it's kind of like, or for some of us, kind of see it like fairy tale. Like, does it really exist? Is it really like that? Or I can't imagine what it's like. But no, it does exist. And there are people there, and Krishna's there, and they're doing lots of things. Yeah, it's actually a real place. So it's important for us to hear about it. And Prabhupada said we should be enchanted, captured, attracted by those descriptions, and we should want to go there. So by hearing about it, just like you hear about some nice tropical island, oh, it'd be nice to go there. Yeah, so that's the idea. So when I feel like we've covered the topic of leaving the body sufficiently, then I think we'll start segueing into the topic of the nature of the spiritual world, which it can get a little difficult to understand, but anyway. we'll do it and we'll see what happens. So now we're going to go to Vrindavan, because Vrindavan, it's transcendental. So it's not only a place. It's not only a place that exists outside of us. It also is a place that exists within inside of us, because Krishna is absolute. So remembering Krishna, remembering Vrindavan, it's the same as being with Krishna and being with Vrindavan. And now, so a lot of us think, well, yeah, I've read that and I understand that, but I don't experience it. Well, the more you become Krishna conscious, the more you'll experience it. And when we chant this song, Prabhupada said this is a perfect description of Vrindavan. So it actually takes us to Vrindavan. So we can go to Vrindavan now. If you meditate on Krishna and Vrindavan, Radha, Madhava, Kunja Bihari, and they're playing in the groves of Vrindavan. Krishna likes Vrindavan, that's his home. There's these beautiful groves, and the atmosphere is conducive to the mellows of rasa, to enhancing rasa or relationship. Gopi Janabalava, very dear to the gopis, or we can say gopis are dear to him, he's dear to the gopis. Girid Bharadhari, he's the lifter of Govardhan. So we meditate on Krishna and Vrindavan and in the groves, how he's so dear to the gopis, how the gopis are his life and soul. He's the life and soul of the gopis. They're his life and soul. And then he lifted Govardhan Hill. And then Jashoda Ananda Bhajajana Ranjana Jashoda Ananda. The son of Jashoda, the pleasure of Jashoda. And then Brajajana Ranjana, he gives pleasure, delights the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Jamuna Tira Vanachari, and he wanders on the banks of the Jamuna, does many things along the Jamuna. So these are meditations. And I'd say about 10 days ago, we were talking a lot about being absorbed in thinking of Krishna. You remember that? And we were talking specifically about practicing thinking of Krishna so we can die thinking of Krishna. We're going to read something about that today also. I found something I thought would be interesting to read. Excuse me, I have to plug in my computer. Hold on a second also. I want to, yeah, okay. So, yes. So these are meditations. You know, Krishna does things so we can meditate on him. And he has many pastimes on the banks of the Yamuna. And most of his pastimes, he's just having fun and he's joking. So we all like to have fun because Krishna likes to have fun. But the difference is he always has fun. And we don't always have fun. That's one major difference. But when you go back to Godhead, you know, we're all trying to be God here. And it's so interesting because in Vaikuntha, everybody looks like God. So you become a servant of God and then you get a body like God. You're not even trying to be God. And then I read last night that in Vaikuntha, each person in Vaikuntha has more wealth and more power than all the wealth and the power that exist in the material world. Hare Krishna. So what does that mean? It means they're like Krishna. You know, we come to the material world, we're trying to be like Krishna. We end up becoming a frog or a pig, you know, and we're thinking, that didn't work out so well, right? I was coming here to be God, and I ended up as a pig eating stool. How did that happen? Where did I take a wrong turn? And then you stop trying to be God, and you give up that false ego, and you become humble, and you surrender. And if you go to Vaikuntha, of course, Braja is better, but this is how it is described in Brihat Bhagavatamrita. If you go to Vaikuntha, you get a body that looks just like Krishna's body. You can hardly tell the difference, except Krishna has a little white hair on his chest, and he wears a certain gem called the Kaustuba. But other than that, you can't tell the difference. And you have more wealth than all the wealth put together. Each person has more wealth than all the wealth put together. So, we're coming here trying to be God. We end up as an animal, or we end up struggling. And, we don't look that good, and we don't have that much money, and we don't have that much power. And then you just try not to be God. And then Krishna says, okay, because you don't want to be God, I will give you a body like mine, because now I know you won't compete. But as long as you're trying to compete, it's not going to work. So Raja is even more transcendental. So what's going on there, now we're going to meditate on as best we can. I mean, as you progress and as you hear, you can enter more deeply into it. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Hari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Shodhanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Shodhanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jamana Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Shodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Shodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Shodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Shodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Shri Radha Madhava ki jai, Kantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Nitai Go Paramanande Hari Hari Bo. Perfect painting of the spiritual reality. I have to plug in my computer. I plugged it into my computer, but I didn't plug it in. Yesterday, I came up with a new melody. You want to hear it? Just for rewarding you for coming today. And I was singing Shishastakam to this. It's kind of cool. You want to hear it, Marco? Maybe we can actually do this. See what you think. Have to remember. Without you, Lord, a moment feels like a million years or more. And tears are flowing from my eyes just like torrents of rain. And I'm feeling all vacant in the world without you, Lord. And a moment feels like a million years or more. You know, I think I just channeled, what's his name? Phil Collins. Yeah? Anyway, I was fooling around yesterday. That's what I came up with. That now that I'm listening to it, it sounds like Phil Collins has entered my body. I don't know if that's good or bad. But anyway, he entered. Don't you think? Anyway. Sometimes I get carried away and I spend too much time on my keyboard. It's dangerous, you know, when you have a... Para Ananda knows how dangerous it is. So, Krishna Karshani, if you go to the first quote, it's Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.17 and Anuradha and Yana. What happens if a devotee falls? If you can put that up on the chat, then we'll read it. And this is an answer to your question, Krishna Karshani, because you were asking what happens if a devotee falls, and I was looking for that verse and I couldn't find it. And by Krishna's mercy, we found the verse. Jai Radha Madhava Ki Jai. So, what happens when a devotee falls? Yeah. What happens when a devotee falls down? Okay. This is the translation. This is chapter 5, verse 17, first canto of the Bhagavatam. One who has forsaken his material occupations to engage in the devotional service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in an immature stage, yet there is no danger of his being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non-devotee, though fully engaged in occupational duties, does not gain anything. So, I'm going to talk a little about this verse, and then we'll get in specifically to answering the question. But the first thing that this verse is saying is that materially, no matter what you accumulate, it doesn't help you spiritually. So it's from the spiritual perspective, material accumulation has no value. Of course, from the material perspective, we have to eat, we have to sleep, we have to do all these things. Okay, I'm going to sit up straight because I was just thinking this morning, when you give Bhagavatam class in a temple, you sit up on the asana. And here I'm in the chair like this. It's kind of, I don't know. It's better I sit up. It's more normal. We didn't chant the obeisances to Vyasadeva. So let's go back. Rewind the tape. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So the first line of the verse says, you give up your material opportunities, your material duties, you surrender to Krishna, and you just find it difficult and you go back. No loss. You didn't lose anything. And you never surrendered to Krishna, and you did your material occupational duties perfectly. You were successful materially, and it says here, you didn't gain anything. So, of course, it's looking at it from the spiritual perspective. So now, this verse is going to describe what happens to a devotee when he falls. And just like we know, Krishna told Arjuna, Konteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashati. Declare it boldly, Arjuna. My devotee never vanquishes. So Krishna wanted to make sure, as Prabhupada said, if he said it, maybe people wouldn't believe him. If his devotee says it, they will believe it. So this statement is absolutely true, and Krishna wants the world to know. If you become my devotee, I take care of you now. You're protected. Once you've surrendered, you're protected. And if you unsurrender, even though you've unsurrendered, you're still protected. The contract is still there. That's amazing. Let's read the purport. As far as the duties of mankind are concerned, there are innumerable duties. Every man is duty-bound not only to his parents, family members, society, country, humanity, other living beings, the demigods, etc., but also the great philosophers, poets, scientists, etc. Prabhupada means that there's a karmic payment when you take birth. There's a karmic payment because we're obliged to everything that's given to us by the demigods. We're obliged to our parents. We're obliged to the sages. And last night we were reading in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita that you are indebted to three, and the parents, demigods, and the sages. Prabhupada's expanding this list that there's a karmic responsibility when you take birth because you're getting things from the demigods. You're getting sun, you're getting air, you're getting water, you're getting food from the earth. So some payment is due, some sacrifice or worship is due. Obviously, you have duty to your parents who've given you this body, and the sages, the sadhus who've given you spiritual knowledge. Whenever you're given something, you become obligated to repay it in some way. Prabhupada said, if you want to repay me for all the knowledge I'm giving you, then distribute this knowledge. That's the payment. So we don't just take it, digest it for ourselves, but if we use the analogy of food, knowledge is like food. We eat, we become strong, and then we also distribute the food. So everything you're getting has to be paid back. And so the reason Prabhupada's pointing this out is because he's talking about duties. So like, what's the value of material duties? So he said everybody has duties. Parents, demigods, to philosophers, family members, society, country, humanity, other living beings, the demigods, etc. Yeah, we're all duty-bound. So duty, you're going to do duty. It is enjoined in the scriptures that one can relinquish all such duties and surrender under the service of the Lord. So there's a verse in Bhagavatam. Devarshi Bhutapta Nrinam Pitrinam. The rishis, the rishis, the forefathers, the demigods, you have obligation, but you can give it up when you surrender to Krishna. So if one does so and becomes successful in the discharge of his devotional service unto the Lord, it is well and good. But it so happens sometimes that one surrenders himself under the service of the Lord by some temporary sentiment. And in the long run, due to so many reasons, he falls down from the path of service by undesirable association. There are so many instances of this in the histories. Bharat Maharaj was obliged to take birth as a stag due to his intimate attachment to a stag. He thought of the stag when he died. Thus, in the next birth, he became a stag, although he did not forget the incidents of his previous life. Similarly, Chitraketu also fell down due to his offenses at the feet of Shiva. So Prabhupada's giving examples here of devotees who fell down. He's going to give the example of a Jamil. So these are two examples we've already discussed, and then he's adding Chitraketu. Chitraketu was joking with Lord Shiva, but Shiva's wife Parvati took it as an offense, and she cursed him to become a asura. Vritrasura. Chitraketu also fell down due to his offenses at the lotus feet of Shiva. But in spite of all of this, the stress is given here to surrendering unto the lotus feet of the Lord, even if there's a chance of falling down. Because even though one falls down from the prescribed duties of devotional service, he will never forget the lotus feet of the Lord. Once engaged in devotion, it's hard to forget devotional service. And you might say, yes, but some people forget it. You can forget something by remembering it, if you know what I mean. Like if I say, I don't want to think about Krishna consciousness anymore. That was a time of my life, and I think that it was the wrong thing for me, or whatever you think, and I don't want to think about it. I don't want to identify as a devotee. But then you're still thinking about it. It's too much. You can't forget about it. I've seen articles by devotees who've left and have said what was wrong with ISKCON, or maybe what was wrong with Krishna consciousness. But that means they're thinking of Krishna. It's such a deep experience, you can't forget it. Sometimes you'll remember it in the next life, and you won't remember it in this life, for various reasons. Yes. Once engaged in devotional service of the Lord, one will continue the service in all circumstances. Yes. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that even a small quantity of devotional service can save one from the most dangerous position. There are many instances of such examples in history. A Jamil is one of them. A Jamil in his earlier life was a devotee, but in his youth he fell down. Still, he was saved by the Lord at the end. Prabhupada spoke a lot about a Jamil. And you want to know why Prabhupada gave a lot of talks on Bhagavatam about a Jamil? Because he was translating it. And so a lot of what you hear Prabhupada talking about in Bhagavatam, he's giving the class because at that time he's translating it. And I was in Los Angeles, he was giving classes on a Jamil. In the mornings, I'm listening to some lectures of Prabhupada, and he's talking about a Jamil. He's talking about this same topic we're talking about. And then I remembered, I was in Los Angeles, Prabhupada was giving classes on a Jamil, 6th canto, because that was the section he was translating. So he was giving classes on what he was translating, which is natural, a good idea, right? So, So, this is the answer to your question, Krishna, what happens to a devotee? And you might say, but a lot of these people who become devotees and they left, I don't see them, they don't identify themselves as devotees anymore. I don't think they're going to come back in this life. Well, Jamil didn't come back in this life. Chitraketu didn't come back in this life. Neither did Bharat come back. It took him 2 lives. So not necessarily does it mean they'll come back to bhakti in this life. But this verse, let's go back to the verse. It says, I'm just going to go if you allow me a moment here, one momentito, I'm going to go to this verse because I want to see what comes after this verse. I think there may be something that helps us. Nope. We're looking for something else. No. Okay. So that answers your question. You have another question, Krishna Karshini, about that? Is that okay? So right now, the last thing I see on my chat is Ojasvi. If there's anything after Ojasvi, now the last thing I sing is Meena. Madhuri Radhika. If that's the last thing, then we're up to date. If there's more, then Madhuri Radhika or Ojasvi, tell me if there's more because I can see you. And if there's more, I have to go. I have to go online because this works sometimes and doesn't. Anyway, text 19. What does text 19 say? We'll go to text 19. Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Thank you, Vijay Lakshmi. Okay. So we're going to read text 19. The only way, Krishna Karshini, you could get text 19 up is to, you can ask Kandharavi. You can ask a question. Yeah, just ask it. The only way you can get text 19 up is if you have the Veda base, or anyone has the Veda base, they can put text 19 up. It's 1519. I'll read the Sanskrit in case anybody can get that text and put it up. Maybe Vijay Lakshmi, since you have the text on your computer. If you do, you can put it up. So this chapter, Narada Muni is instructing Vyasadeva. Navai jana. Little background. Navai jana jatu katan chana vrajan mukunda sevya vyavan angas samshritim shmavan mukundang grupa guyhanam punar Vihatumi narasagrahu janaha. Okay. Translation. I guess we don't have the translation. Or if we do, I don't see it. Okay. My dear Vyas, even though a devotee of Lord Krishna sometimes falls down, somehow or other, he certainly does not undergo material existence like others, fruitive workers, because a person who has once relished the taste of the lotus feet of the Lord can do nothing but remember that ecstasy again and again. So, sounds like it's saying he'll come back because he'll remember, because that taste is too special. And that's true, but it just may not remember in this life. Let's read what Prabhupada says. A devotee of the Lord automatically becomes uninterested in the enchantment of material existence because he is rasa graha, or one who has tasted the sweetness of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. There are certainly many instances where devotees of the Lord have fallen down due to uncongenial association. Just like fruitive workers who are always prone to degradation. So sometimes he falls down like an ordinary person and engages in activities like an ordinary person. But even though he falls down, the devotee is never to be considered the same as a fallen karmi. Karmi means one who's creating karma. A karmi suffers the result of his own fruitive actions, whereas a devotee is reformed by chastisement directed by the Lord himself. The sufferings of an orphan and the sufferings of a beloved child of a king are not one and the same. An orphan is really poor because he has no one to take care of him. But a beloved son of a rich man, although he appears to be on the same level as the orphan, is always under the vigilance of his capable father. A devotee of the Lord, due to wrong association, sometimes imitates the fruitive workers. The fruitive workers want to lord it over the material world. Similarly, a neophyte devotee foolishly thinks of accumulating some material power in exchange for devotional service. Such foolish devotees are sometimes put into difficulty by the Lord himself. As a special favor, he may remove all material paraphernalia. By such action, the bewildered devotee is forsaken by all friends and relatives, and so he comes to his senses again by the mercy of the Lord and is set right to execute his devotional service. So here, Prabhupada's making a different point here. Now he's not talking about the next life. He's talking about this life. That this also, one or the other may happen. Either you'll come back in another life and take up devotional service, or in this life you'll hit rock bottom, and then it will turn you around and you'll come back to bhakti. So Krishna knows what's best, and so if hitting rock bottom is what's best for you, he'll let you hit rock bottom. You'll crash and burn, and you realize you should have never left Krishna. Or it may be that you'll take birth, you'll just live this life out, burn out your material desires, and then you'll take birth. And in your next life, you'll remember. We'll continue reading, just 2 short paragraphs. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is also said that such fallen devotees are given a chance to take birth in a family of highly qualified brahmanas or in a rich mercantile family. So then Prabhupada is giving that second option that we had read about in the previous verse. A devotee in such a position is not as fortunate as one who is chastised by the Lord and put into a position seemingly of helplessness. Interesting. Okay, I'm going to sit back in my chair because my back hurts when I sit like that. Well, it hurts today. I was doing some yoga and I think my back needs a rest. Okay. A devotee in such a position is not as fortunate as one who is chastised by the Lord and put into a position seemingly of helplessness. The devotee who becomes helpless by the will of the Lord is more fortunate than those who are born in good families. Wow. Everybody say, wow, that's amazing. Incredible. I don't know how to say incredible in Russian. I know how to say it in Spanish. Yana, how do you say incredible? Yana, can you type in how you say it in Russian? Or type it in English, how we would say it in Russian? I'll try to say it. Then all the Russians are going to laugh when I try to say it. Wow, awesome, amazing. Amazing in Sanskrit is acharyavat. Is that Russian? Oh. Okay, I'm going to read it like it's English, and all the Russians are going to laugh. Never o yatno. It's spelled never o yatno. I know that's totally wrong. All the Russians, you have my permission to laugh. I've made you laugh by trying to say never o yatno. Never o jodno. Something like that. Yeah. Incredible. Ascharyavat is the Sanskrit word. The soul is amazing. Some see the soul is amazing. Some hear of him as amazing. Some can't even figure him out. Ascharyavat. The devotee who becomes helpless by the will of the Lord is more fortunate than those who are born in good families. The fallen devotees born in a good family may forget the lotus feet of the Lord because they are less fortunate, but the devotee who is put into a forlorn condition is more fortunate because he swiftly returns to the lotus feet of the Lord, thinking himself helpless all around. Okay, you heard it today. You know, we named this, I don't know, what are we going to call this? The show, the Mahatma show? We were calling it a Bhagavatam class, but I had to give it a name. And I chose the name until we come up with another name. Laugh Your Way Back to Godhead. That's the name of my show. We're going to have to make a decal for it. Well, you know, when we advertise, Laugh Your Way Back to Godhead with Mahatma Das. You know, it's like, what's that all about? You heard it today on Laugh Your Way Back to Godhead, right here. Now, the interesting thing about this is that I was in a class in Los Angeles in 1972, and Prabhupada said the exact same thing. He said, you don't want to come back. He said, if you come back, you'll be born in a wealthy family or a devotee family. He said, but if you're born in a wealthy, if you don't perfect your bhakti, you want to enjoy kind of, you're just, you whatever the case is, you may be born in a wealthy family. Then Prabhupada said, but there's no guarantee. Even though you've done devotional service, you may get deviated because you have so many opportunities for sense gratification. So this was Los Angeles. So when Prabhupada said, you may be born in a wealthy family, and I grew up in Los Angeles, and I was thinking Beverly Hills, Sunset Boulevard, Bel Air. Bel Air is just like, it's above, it's even better than Beverly Hills. Beverly Hills is beautiful. And then you keep going up, and from Beverly Hills you go up, and then it's called Bel Air. And I used to work for a drugstore, and when I was 16, and people would call in and they would order things. They'd tell me to get the order, and then I would drive, and a lot of the orders were from Bel Air. So I was like, I knew about Bel Air, I'd been there, but I was like there almost every day. It's amazing. So when Prabhupada said that, I was thinking, yeah, take birth in Bel Air. A rich family in Bel Air, you know, you have a tennis court, you'll have a swimming pool, you'll have a, what do you call this? When you have someone in your house, he wears a black suit, what do you call that? Why can't I remember it? Because I never had one. It's not a waiter. You have that person, you know, like when I would go to Bel Air, usually when I would drop something off, they would give me a tip. But when I go to Bel Air, they didn't answer the door. What's his name? The guy who, you know, wears the black suit, who takes care of your house when you're rich. He would answer the door, and I'd give it to him. So, a man Friday, not in America. Butler, yeah, a butler, yeah. They have a butler. A butler is like he takes care of the whole house, and they have a maid also. The butler not going to give me donations. So when Prabhupada said that, I was thinking, yeah, take birth in Bel Air in the house, we'll have a butler. So, the very thing that Prabhupada said in that lecture, he's saying here. So, now what's the conclusion? Now, if you're listening to this, you're thinking, okay, if I'm thinking, well, in my next life, yeah, butler. The butler. There was a show called the Jack Benny Show when I was a kid. It was all the dialogue was between him and his butler. That was, when I grew up, there was still apartheid in America in certain parts. It's amazing. So, now, a smart devotee will think, okay, if it's better I hit rock bottom or better I suffer, because then I'll surrender to Krishna again, or as opposed to taking another birth and thinking, well, this life, I'm not going to make it in this life. It's too difficult, too austere. Then I'll just come back And Prabhupada says, yeah, but you come back, but you may not continue your bhakti. That is a scary thought. That's a sobering thought. And it's so sobering that a devotee in his right mind, if he needs help and he's feeling like I'm not really focused enough on Krishna consciousness, that I really feel that I would go back to Godhead in this lifetime. In his sober mind, say, Krishna, do whatever you have to do to get me on your program to go back to Godhead in this lifetime. Can I read this again? And then I'll get to your questions. Hare Krishna. Welcome to all of you who are showing up one by one. I see you when you show up, but I don't want to stop and say hello because I'll lose my train of thought. Okay, I want to read this again because this is amazing. Thank you, Vijay Lakshmi, for pointing out this. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is also said that such fallen devotees are given a chance to take birth in a family of highly qualified Brahmins or in a rich mercantile family in Beverly Hills or Bel Air. No, it doesn't say that. Or you have your place in every country, right? You know the neighborhood. Where just think of your country and think, if I'm not Krishna conscious, I'm going to be born in that neighborhood. The one, the houses on top of the hill. Of course, if you're in Colombia, the houses on the top of the hill are all the mafia. So you might be born in a rich mercantile mafia family, cartel. They're having a hard time now because the world is shut down. The drug business is really bad. They can't get their drugs out. America's realizing how much drugs come in from South America. The devotees who become helpless by the will of the Lord, the devotee who becomes helpless by the will of the Lord is more fortunate than those who are born in good families. Wow. 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 You have to say it 3 times if you mean it. You emphasize it. Prabhupada said, Harinam, Harinam, Harinam. It's emphasized 3 times. If it's important, you say it 3 times. So, wow, wow, wow. The fallen devotees born in a good family may forget the lotus feet of the Lord because they are less fortunate. But the devotee who is put into a forlorn condition is more fortunate because he swiftly returns to the lotus feet of the Lord, thinking himself helpless all around. So here's the question. Would you rather be happy in Maya or would you rather be suffering in Krishna consciousness? Of course, in Krishna consciousness, you don't suffer. So that I have to restate that. Would you rather be happy in Maya or would you rather suffer to get back into Krishna consciousness? And I hope your answer is the second one. Because Prabhupada's saying, you take birth in a good family, it's so nice, you forget Krishna. Better you suffer now, hit rock bottom, turn around and say, okay, Krishna, I give up. I surrender. If that's what it takes to surrender, then we as devotees should say, okay, Krishna, if I'm so stupid that that's what it takes, then, okay, I'm ready. Do it. And I think Krishna's doing that for us all the time. You probably could reflect in your life at different situations you've been in that were difficult. And if you look back and you think, yeah, probably Krishna put me in that situation just to teach me a lesson because I'm so stupid. I can't understand the lesson in the book, so he has to slap me around. Okay, I got it. Okay, stop. I got it. You don't have to hit me anymore. I got the lesson. Yeah, Hare Krishna. Okay, the last paragraph, and then we're going to go back to your questions. Pure devotional service is so spiritually relishable that a devotee becomes automatically uninterested in material enjoyment. Second one, yeah, but it'll be difficult. Yeah, we should choose the second one if we're smart. That is the sign of perfection in progressive devotional service. A pure devotee continuously remembers the lotus feet of Lord Krishna and does not forget him even for a moment, not even in exchange for all the opulences of the 3 worlds. Okay, so Krishna comes and says, here are all the opulences in the 3 worlds. You can be Indra, or here's pure devotional service. Which one do you want? Can you come back tomorrow and give me time to think about this? No! Immediately, I want you, Krishna. That's a devotee. And if when I said that, you didn't immediately think, no, I'll take Krishna, you're in trouble. You're in big trouble. Okay, so we're going to go back. Back, up. 10, 15 names. To okay, Yana, tell the truth. Did I even get close to pronouncing that? Never yo yot no. Never yo not. Hare Krishna. Never yo not mo. Did I even get close, like, within 100 yards of actually pronouncing that right? Okay, I'm looking for your question. Yeah. Okay, this is Gandharavi. Gandharavi. What if a devotee is falling down and you can see it, but you don't want to commit offense with the devotee or judge the devotee? You mean you don't want to tell them? Or you just don't want to commit offense in your mind? Well, okay, this is an interesting question because we have to learn how to traverse the world, see things that are wrong without becoming upset, and especially without making offense. And so sometimes, some of us, it's like if something's wrong, we get upset, or if someone's doing something wrong, we make offense. It's just like, it's natural, spontaneous. So what I'm saying is, you can see somebody doing something wrong and without criticizing or offending. You can see a situation that's wrong without becoming disturbed. I mean, you'll become disturbed, but when I say disturbed, I mean disturbed in a way that you become angry and it disturbs you. And it disturbs other people. So I can be disturbed by something. Yeah, people are suffering. We are all disturbed. Animals are being killed. Babies are being slaughtered in the wombs. People are being educated in total ignorance. We're all disturbed. But it's just a question of how we react to that disturbance. So we react to that disturbance by preaching, by becoming more enthused to help people. So if someone is, what do you say here, committing falling down, and you can see it, it hopefully will awaken compassion in you to be able to try to help or do something for that person. Now sometimes you can't do anything because the person won't listen. And then you talk to other people and you say, can you help them? I see this is happening. And they may say, no, we tried. He or she doesn't listen to anybody. And so at that point, all you can do is pray and feel compassion, feel sorry, pray to Krishna. Krishna, can you help this devotee and do what's necessary to make them realize what they're doing or to get them off this destructive path. You don't want to judge the devotee. Well, judgment is always based on comparison. So what are you comparing this devotee to? Usually yourself, or comparing it to standards that Prabhupada set. All right, so compare yourself to the standards that Prabhupada set. That's better than comparing him to the standards. But again, it's the same point. If you're comparing this devotee to the standards, you say, well, he's not following the standards Prabhupada set. You have to do it in a way that it's not judgment. It's done out of concern for the welfare of that devotee and the welfare of other devotees that may be affected by that devotee. Then you may be judging, but you're not judging in a way that's detrimental to you or detrimental to him. Of course, judgment is natural. So when we use the word judgment, we don't mean turn off your judgment. You don't judge anything. We mean don't judge it in a way that's offensive. Don't judge it in a way that would cause destruction to you or to them, because that would be judging through the modes of nature. But if you judge this is wrong, then you think, okay, well, how we can rectify it? Just like, let's say you're a judge in court. you're judging, but it doesn't mean you're condemning people, you're criticizing people, you don't like people, or you're degrading people. It just means you're evaluating a situation in order to make a decision as to what is the best thing to do in this particular case. So, to summarize that answer, I would like to give a more general answer that in any situation in life that we confront where we can potentially become disturbed by what's happening, we have to learn how to be able to see what's happening, not ignore it, not deny it, not suppress the feeling of it, but be able to witness it with an emotional response that is not degrading us or degrading anybody else, but still recognizes objectively that there is a problem and those who have the power to resolve this problem need to be informed. Or if I have the power, I will do it. That is the trick in traversing this world, because on the path back to Godhead, we're going to see many things which could incite us to criticize, incite us to blame, incite us to put somebody down. And those are all traps. And the way the mind works, the mind justifies it by saying, yes, what this person did is wrong. I have a right to judge. I have a right to criticize. Well, perhaps in a sense you do, depending on your position. And sometimes you don't have a right because you have nothing to do with this person. This person is, in Siberia with Nadia, and you don't know that person. It's like, it's none of your business. So why bother? So some cases are like that. But when the case is in front of you, and it's hurting you or hurting others, then you have to learn how to be able to handle it objectively and say, yes, this is what's going on, but at the same time, not allow that to degrade you. And I've quoted a saying, I didn't write it, I didn't come up with it, but it's a very good saying to remember, that if we resent someone or criticize someone or judge someone in the way that I'm describing here, that it's very much influenced by the modes of nature. It's degrading to ourselves or degrading to others. It's not solution-based. It's not sattvic. It's not out of concern and compassion. So that if you do that, you end up punishing yourself for the mistakes of another person. Oh, this person's so bad, he did something wrong. And now you're criticizing. That's hurting your bhakti. It's, even if you're not a devotee, criticizing is degrading your consciousness. So now you're punishing yourself. Oh, he's so bad. How could he do this? You're on the internet, telling everybody how bad he is, wasting time. Now this person is kind of like controlling you indirectly. In our forgiveness course, we show how that often the person you can't forgive ends up controlling your life because you become really upset and sometimes obsessively upset. You can't forget the person, can't forget what they did. And what they did is affecting you today, even though it happened a decade ago or longer. And so the person ends up controlling you. I think like if you look at American politics, a lot of Democrats are controlled, allowing themselves to be controlled by Trump, because Trump does things that are hard to ignore and very disturbing to the Democrats. And it's just like they're, America's kind of become like the Society for Trump Consciousness. He's not a person you can ignore. But I think there's a lot of people, if you ask them, what do you think about Trump? They'll just say, I don't really get involved because they don't want to. They realize that it's not something that's going to be helpful for them, and possibly it's going to be detrimental. If they don't like Trump, it's going to be detrimental. And even if you like Trump, then you end up not liking the Democrats. And then so thinking of Trump means thinking of all the people who hate him that you hate. So then you punish yourself for that. So we have to, we should be aware that when we're dealing with these kinds of sensitive issues where people are misbehaving and so forth, there's this point where we can help, but there's this point where you can just fall down into thinking that's just, you're harming yourself, and so you get punished for what they did wrong because you're focused on it. Let me tell you a story. This is interesting, and I think this will be very good for you to hear because you may go through this in the future yourself. I can't say you will. I hope you don't, but there's a chance you might. Or I could say probably definitely, well, I think about it, definitely you will. Not the exact same situation, but you'll go through something similar. So the history of ISKCON was that after Prabhupada left, up until like maybe 1982 or so, or 83, the movement was actually growing every year. It grew, obviously it was growing every year when Prabhupada was here, but after he left, that momentum continued. But it hit a point. I can't say the exact year, but let's say 83, 84, it hit a point where it started to go down. And it kind of climaxed around 1986, where a lot of problems were coming up, but they really went through the threshold in 1986, and there was a lot of concern about the movement, but it hit a threshold in 86. And there was a lot of reform going on in meetings, and a lot of devotees were angry about what was going on. And so for us as God brothers, seeing what was going on, many of us were powerless to do anything. And we would talk about it a lot. We actually spent a lot of time talking about it, about the leaders doing this and that, and how it's causing problems, and how we don't like it, and what should be done. But more than what should be done, more what we don't like about it. And it was occupying a lot of our time because it was so disturbing it would occupy our time. And I distinctly remember that we all at a certain point had the same realization, that we're talking about the problems, and we're not doing anything. It's immobilizing us because, I don't want to go out and preach with a movement in this state. I don't want to bring people to the temple. We're losing our inspiration. And the more we talked about how bad things were, the more we lost our inspiration. That's the nature of talking about something negative. It gets depressing, and then you lose inspiration. So there's a point where it seemed like simultaneously, many of us had this realization that, we're sitting around talking about this, and it's having this horrible effect on us, that we're not doing what we should be doing. We're not out there preaching because we're so discouraged. And we need to stop talking about this and take our life back into our own hands and, do what Prabhupada wanted, rather than allow this situation to handicap us, demoralize us, even totally halt our devotional service. In some cases that happened. So in your life as a devotee, you may confront situations in the future because we don't know what the future will bring. But you may confront situations that could be similar. And so my advice to you is just remember this story, that it's very easy to get very absorbed in talking about the problems. It was almost like endless discussions, and it was occupying our time. And so during that period of like 1986, 87, 88, 89, those were tough times in ISKCON. And I think a lot of people left Krishna Consciousness, a lot of God brothers. That's kind of when they took back seats. Maybe in the 1980s they took back seats. They gave up their service, and that's what it does when you're focused on the problems like that. And a lot of devotees during the 80s became very successful. And the reason is they didn't do that. They saw the writing on the wall that things were having trouble now in our movement. I'm going to go out and do something. And they went out and did something. So they weren't affected by that. And so I think it's a very important lesson. Those were some of the best years for some preachers. And for a lot, it was their worst years because they were so discouraged by what was going on. And the ones who saw the writing on the wall saw that this is going to go on, Krishna will work it out in course of time. I'm going to go on with my preaching. And their preaching just during those years just grew and grew and grew. So it's a very good lesson. Thank you for that question. So there are other questions. I'm going to go. Thank you all for posting that verse. How did I... Jan is going to tell me how I did. On a scale of 1 to 10, how did I do with that pronunciation? Probably 1.5, right? I'll die on my deathbed. I'll be thinking, I could never speak Russian. I just can't pronounce Russian. And I leave my body and become a Russian in the spiritual world. Instead of Sanskrit, I'll be speaking Russian in Goloka. What to do to not fall down? Srila Prabhupada said that there is a danger to fall down in every moment. Srila Prabhupada was often saying that we should be afraid of fall down. Yeah. Well, this is a topic, this is a topic for a whole series of classes. But the first question I would ask all of you is, what do you think could make you fall down? What is that thing? What is your weakest link? You might say, I get up early, I chant good rounds, I do this and that. Then I'll say, okay, that's good, but what's your weakest link? Because that's where you need to be careful. Because it doesn't matter if you're strong doing 100 things. If you're weak doing one thing, a chain is only strong as its weakest link. If that chain breaks, then these other 100 things don't help you anymore. So all of us need to be very aware of where our weaknesses lie and be very careful not to overindulge in those weaknesses or allow those weaknesses to in any way destroy our bhakti. So if we say I could fall down, you naturally want to ask yourself, well, or maybe another way of putting the question is, if you fell down, what would you fall down to? How would you fall down? What would you do? Where would you go? And what would be that bridge between where you are now and falling down? What would you be walking over to get there? So that's what you want to think and say, oh, what an interesting question that you're asking. Because for me, it's this. And whatever this is for you, that's the thing you have to be careful of. When you're dealing with this, either you have to be very careful or just don't deal with this. This is dangerous for you. And like Prabhupada said, nobody should think they're strong. So that's another principle. Don't think you're infallible. Don't think you're strong. And I can tell you how I think about this question. I mean, I'm aware of weaknesses. I try not to indulge in my weaknesses. And so sometimes you might see a devotee and you're praising them and they'll just say, Prabhu, I thank you for your praise, but it's not really what I'm like. And, I'm just trying to be a fallen soul. And you might think, wow, this devotee is really humble. But in some cases, it could be that their weakness is pride, and they have to do that to protect themselves because they actually want to be praised. So if they don't do that, they're going to eat it up, so to speak. So sometimes we have to, to protect ourselves, we have to overreact from situations. Like, say, look at that brahmachari. He's so strict, he won't even talk to a woman. He must be really renounced. Then you talk to him, say, Prabhu, you're so renounced. You don't even look at women. You don't even talk to them. And he said, no, that's because that's my weakness. And if I talk to them, if I look at them, if I engage with them, that's difficult for me. So I just detach. So sometimes you see someone exhibiting a certain quality and you think, that devotee is amazing, or that devotee is renounced, or that devotee has these good qualities, when in fact it's just a defense mechanism. They don't have those qualities. but they know that's their weakness, so they're like overreacting in a sense. Maybe that's not the right word, but they're responding in a way just to make sure. I can't go there because I like it so much. Like sometimes, this is funny. So devotees will say, when they're serving me prasadam, would you like such and such? And I say, no. And they say, don't you like such and such? And I say, yeah, I like it a lot. And they're totally bewildered. Like, you like it a lot, why don't you eat it? Because I like it a lot, I'm not going to eat it because I'll eat too much. So that's the idea. Why aren't you doing that? Because I like to do it. Huh? I don't understand. You're not doing it because you like to do it? Exactly. I like to do it so much, if I start, I'll never stop. I like eating this so much, if you give me one, I'll eat 10. So I'm not going to take any. So it's something like that. You're aware of your weakness, so that when you come around it, it's like, okay, be careful. And if you're not aware of your weakness, then you fall in the trap. And so that's one thing. The other thing for me personally is good japa, good morning program, good Gayatri mantras. That's also there, Before you take Gayatri, you can take Achman or clean yourself. Sanatana Goswami says, pranayam, you can do pranayam before you chant your mantras, just preparing yourself, being in the right space, sitting up, that's very, very powerful, very potent. So, there's more we can say about this, but I think if you ask yourself this question, you'll also understand the answer. Now, I have bad news for all of you. I'm going to give a class at 9:30, and I have to go get on Zoom now to test it. We're doing this class. I'm just seeing what else. Ooh, so many things. Okay, we go a few more minutes, but I can't go that much longer. Otherwise I'll get in trouble. Or we'll get messed up. Our GBC Pralananda Swami told me that in 10 years from initiation, only 2 out of 10 are still devotees. GBC made researches, came up with this conclusion. The statistics are pretty scary. I'm wondering, what in your opinion is the main reasons? Well, when I first heard you tell me this, I thought it would really be more interesting for me to see the percentages by guru, to see if there's any correlation between the number of disciples or how much time he spends with his disciples, or if there's a mentorship program, like, are there indicators of what's helping devotees? Maybe it's not the time the guru spends. Maybe it's the fact they all have mentors. Or maybe it's the devotees who live far away from a temple. So we can't answer that question without more detail. I was very close. Wow. Maybe there's still hope for me. I could still speak Russian. Pravda. Spasibo. Vrastya. Harisho. That's it. That's all I can say. Can very senior devotees, second initiated, fall down? Yes. Anybody can fall down. But what if they cannot see that they're falling down? That's why you're there to tell them. Only kidding. Because of false ego, then what? How can we respect that person? We respect everyone as a devotee. But you just don't surrender to them. Okay, you're a devotee, I respect you. There's what's called respect from a distance. That's another topic. Maybe you could save these questions. Could you all save your questions for tomorrow? And we'll start with these questions, because if I try to answer them now, I'm not going to do justice to them. I'm going to give you like 1-sentence answers. That question needs more Vijaya Lakshmi. Then Parananda has another question which needs more time. And Prabhu has another question that needs more time. Yeah, I'm sorry I have to go now because today's crazy. I'm doing 4 classes today and like I've got to leave now. So please, all of you, keep your questions. And then tomorrow morning when we start, just put your questions up again, okay? Just throw, as soon as we start, just throw those questions up and then we'll take over. So um, I'm doing on a class like 11:30 Columbus. This one in South Africa, they don't want anyone to come to because they don't want to fill up their Zoom. I think in Columbus, so I don't know. Just look on my Facebook. Maybe all these classes are going to go to Facebook. So then that's 9:30, and then there's, if Radha Priya was maybe organizing it, they'll all go to Facebook. Otherwise, she's advertised. I think there may be Zoom she may advertise on Facebook or my website that you can go. And then at 7 o'clock at the Sunday Feast. And I did a new recording, and it's being released tonight at the Sunday Feast. This is the Sunday Feast in Maui. So it's going to be 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for my new recording. I haven't even shown anybody where it is because I'm not sure I want you to hear it yet. But I guess you'll hear it tonight. So that's that. And thank you for listening. And Hare Krishna to everyone. And we will talk later. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We'll see you tomorrow. Save your questions. I have to run. Otherwise, the South Africans will chastise me for being late. Hare Krishna.